Hey everyone, it's Rachel Fisher back again with Most Amazing Top 10, and guess what? We are giving you more of what you love because you loved the first version of this video. Like, you crushed it. Thank you so much. You love hearing about evil people. I guess so do we. We love writing about them, and unfortunately there isn't a shortage of them. So here we go with a part 2 of Top 10 Evil People from History We Wish Were Never Born. From bloody queens to evil murderers. Let's get going. Number 10, Elizabeth Bathory. I remember one time seeing a theater production where they kind of glorified this woman, and I was like, you realize what she did, right? Bathory was one of the most evil women to ever live on the planet Earth, period. It wasn't just how many people she killed, but how she did it. Like Vlad the Impaler, she is being compared to a real-life vampire and is even from the same area. She was born on August 7th, a Leo, like me. I swear we're not all crazy. August 7th, 1560, in a prominent Hungarian noble family, making her practically untouchable. She married a war hero named Count Franz Nadasny, I probably butchered that, sorry, but so did she, who was suspected of gifting Bloody Lizzie with the skills she used to kill. After she died, Bathory became obsessed with immortality, supposedly when one of her servants accidentally spilled blood on her and her skin appeared younger. Bathory then began her mission of horror, luring over 650 young virgin women to her palace and brutally taking their lives. She was even bold enough to lure daughters of nobility. Before draining them of their blood, she would slice, stab, sew their mouths shut, leave them out in the cold, cover them in honey so bees would sting them, let her dogs tear at their flesh, and she herself would bite off skin from their face and other intimate parts, shall we say. When she was satisfied, her servants drained the blood into a bath. When she was finally caught, 3 of her servants were executed, but she was locked away in a tower for the rest of her days, forced to rot away. I feel like that wasn't good enough, you know? That's just not good enough. She was probably able to roam around the castle too, like it wasn't a big deal. Like I said, untouchable. Number 9, Maximillian Robespierre. As one of our commenters said in part 1, Wes Gunton said, "Power corrupts the good too, not just the evil." Good quote, man. Nice. Maximillian Robespierre started out with good intentions before he lost his head. You can look at the French Revolution through 2 lenses. One is like, yay, they got rid of an idiot king, that's so good. And then the other lens is, oh my god, there's so much blood everywhere. Why are there so many heads rolling around? It was nuts. Like, it was not a good time, and I don't think it was okay at all. And that's all to do with Maximilian. After Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI were beheaded in 1793, Maximilian continued the bloodbath without mercy. Ironically, he was the head of the Committee for Public Safety. But accused many members of the National Convention of treasonous and unrevolutionary activities just like willy-nilly. He was like, you're a traitor, you're a traitor. In less than a year, 300,000 people were arrested, 10,000 died in prison, and 17,000 people were guillotined. So many heads! One by one, he sent them all to the guillotine until he eventually was elected the president of the National Convention. Within 6 days of being president, he passed a law that suspended the right to a public trial and to legal assistance, and by the end of that month, 1,400 people were guillotined. Talk about trigger happy. Finally, the right and the left reunited in order to overthrow Robespierre in order to destroy the vicious dictatorship he established. Looks like he was too busy forging ahead with his plans that he eventually lost his own. Number 8. You also said, I think in the comments, that you wanted this guy on this list, so we're here. This list is very much for you, so number 8, Vlad the Impaler. Good old Vlad. Oh man, he's been romanticized a little bit as well, I think, as the OG Dracula, but trust me, with that beard and that temper, he was about as sexy as a hot dog dressed as a salsa dancer. Whatever you imagine Dracula could do, what he did was worse. A lot of the awful things that he did were fed by a penchant for revenge, but still, it must take a certain kind of person to do what he did. And there's plenty more that I just didn't have time to say in this video, so Let me know if you just want me to do a list about Vlad. I'll do it. At a young age, Vlad was shipped off to be raised by Turks, which resulted in a brutal upbringing. On top of that, his entire family was killed during a coup, leading young Vlad to plot his revenge. One of the first things he did as a ruler was hold a massive banquet in the guise of making peace with his enemies, lulling them into a false sense of security with a cup of wine, you know? That is before he announced that they would be having shish kebabs for dinner. They were the entree. Most of his guests were stabbed to death while others were impaled on stakes while they were alive. Quite literally, it's like, hey Vlad, how do you like your steak? Rare. Anyways, all the while Vlad watched. Some even say he let the blood drip into his goblet and continued to drink from it. Number 7, Ivan the Terrible. To have a name like that, you must have done something really, really bad. Or a few things very bad. Ivan the Terrible, or Ivan IV as he was formerly known, was the crown prince of Moscow. It's instances like these that just highlights why monarchy is just such a bad idea. You know, you just never know what's gonna pop out and have a crown put on its head one day. This guy gave off major Joffrey vibes from the start. When he was just 13, he ordered the arrest of Prince Andrew Shusky so he could feed him to his ravenous dogs. Joffrey or Ramsay? Both. Let's say both. He also tortured animals for fun, and if you've been with this channel for a long time, you know what that means. But for a while there, love seemed to have subdued him, for after he married Anastasia Romanova, he was relatively calm for about 13 years until the day she and her son fell ill and died. The reign of terror resurfaced with a vengeance. He formed the notorious Opraninki, a league of soldiers clad in black ordered to murder anyone they deemed traitors to God, even barging into churches during mass. Back at the castle, Ivan engaged in some pretty sadistic acts of sexual nature of both men and women, and married a sum of 8 times, with each wife mysteriously drowning or being sent away to convents. Yeah, he even beat to death his eldest son and his wife, who was pregnant at the time. Needless to say, the world was glad when he left it, though Russia wouldn't recover from years of disarray until Peter the Great took over 100 years later. Rough. Number 6, Bloody Mary. And I'm not talking about the one you see in the mirror, okay? This is an entirely different one. This is like the OG. You don't get bloody put in front of your name for nothing. Rulers loved to use religion as an excuse to kill mass amounts of people. I mean, people still like doing that today for some reason. Anyways, which is why Mary I of England earned the title she did. When her father Henry VIII created the Church of England in order to divorce her mother Catherine so he could marry Anne Boleyn, this essentially bastardized Mary due to the allegations of incest he made against her mother, changing her life for the worse. She was forbidden to see her parents and stripped of her title as princess, but when Anne died, Mary took a lot of convincing to rejoin the court and was named heir to the throne, but she never saw her dad really as the head of the church. She was still a devout Catholic. There are a lot more details, but with the hatred she bore her father when she finally became queen, Mary did everything she could to convert England back to Catholicism and married Philip of Spain. Over the next 3 years, she burned hundreds upon hundreds of Protestants at the stake. Like, again, like why can't you just kill them? If you want them dead, why do you have to torture them? I don't know. Ugh. Her bloody, disillusioned tirade appeared to have no end in sight, but after she lost a devastating war and Philip abandoned her, Mary soon fell ill and died, leaving all her Catholic dreams behind her. Thankfully, good old Queen Bess was on the sidelines, so Mary's bloody rampage ended when she did, so love Queen Elizabeth, she was great. Anyways, number 5! We're mixing it up here, it's not all rulers. Charles Manson. I feel like I could just leave this guy's name up here and I'm not sure if I'd have to say anything else, so I think I'm gonna go now. Kidding, I'll keep talking if you want. But if you need a reminder, he was an incredibly twisted cult leader that orchestrated the killings of several people, most famously actress Sharon Tate. He ran a cult in the 1960s called the Manson family, where he slowly but surely convinced his followers that he was pretty much a god. His eyes were drawn from science fiction, haha, so you know it's true, and the occult, and preached that an apocalyptic race war was coming. He was a master manipulator, and one of the ways he kept his followers close to him was by gaining dark secrets, even if he had to create them himself. He led the group to believe that in order to unite them as a family, they all had to kill the people he said they had to. Little did they know that Manson had one of the groups attack the Polanski house due to a record deal that never went his way, like years before, even before Roman even moved there. I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's one thing to do the killing yourself, that's brutal, but it's a whole other thing to convince other people to do it for you and for them to believe that it's the right thing to do. Like, just wow. That's a whole different level of evil. Number 4, Luka Magnotta. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him so much. Was he a mass murderer? No. But did he commit one of the most haunting and terrifying crimes that still makes me want to vomit to this day? Yep. Do I wish I'd never watched the documentary Don't F with Cats? Absolutely. Something about this crime struck a chord in me that I just can't shake. Junlin should still be alive today, but he isn't because of this man. Scarborough, Ontario native Luka Magnotta started out like most serial killers, killing animals in brutal and public ways. History is 2020, and there were tons of clues as to where this pathological need for attention was going to end up. Luka not only brutally killed sweet, innocent animals, but filmed them for all the world to see and put them on the internet. Why nobody I mean, there's a bunch of people who tried to track him down, but still, like, where were the police? That's like, this guy's literally like, I'm a killer, catch me. He set the internet on fire, and when that got the attention he wanted, he upped his game and violently stole the life of Concordia student Junlin. He did everything he could for attention, and the pathway towards his bloody deed is so inhuman, but apparently he's doing just fine in prison. He got married recently, which is good for him. I even hate the fact that I'm talking about him right now, so let's just move on, shall we? There are bigger fish to fry. Number 3, Abdullah of Saudi Arabia. Back to our evil rulers theme we had going for a while there. King Abdullah has to be on this list. He violated so many human rights throughout his reign, and the fact that his rule was actually so recent just goes to show that we aren't so far away from the horrid rulers of the past. He was ruthless when it came to heresy against his reign, and would severely punish and torment any and all who spoke out against him, in a very 1984 kind of style too. To give you an example of just how far he went, he sentenced a blogger to 1,000 lashings and 10 years in prison just for setting up a website and saying his piece. That would be like me or any of the MA hosts being arrested for saying any critique against the government on this channel. Like, that's insane. And he didn't stop there. The blogger is just one example of the 1,000 political prisoners who have been arrested and tortured just because they asked a question. King Abdullah died in 2015, and his reign remains a controversial one, as he did also try to negotiate peace in the East, but many will always remember his medieval ways of torture and imprisonment. Number 2, Nero. Nero the Zero. Last time we talked about Caligula, and I believe some of you mentioned him in the comments, so I feel like we have to talk about Nero. I honestly don't know what it was with burning pyres, as I mentioned before. Like, just make it quick, just get it over with. If you want someone dead, why make it slow and awful? But that's because Nero enjoyed watching people burn to death. He just loved it, it was the best. What didn't this guy do? He used burning Christians as lights for his garden, he kicked his second wife to death, he killed his mother and brother to secure his evil rule. The man seemed to delight in cruelty the same way we love eating cake on our birthday. Another common form of punishment was having the criminal tied to a post and torn apart by animals. He had a fascination with animals. He was so weird. What Nero reportedly did to a woman named Lacosta, a woman his mother hired to kill his father and brother, will haunt your dreams. He had her assaulted by a specially trained giraffe before she was fed to animals. How did he train a giraffe to do that? That's my question. He was more than likely a sociopath with even weirder sexual tendencies. He also loved animals being involved, like a bloodier and sadistic furry. He would often dress up as a beast and have his array of lovers, male and female, tied to posts and pretend to bite them. Okay, like, I mean, do you. Or don't, Nero, don't do you. I don't even know what that is. Nero was an arrogant, narcissistic ruler who even had his own crowd of people who followed him and cheered for him, but that was about the only people who cheered for him. That was it. And last but not least, Josef Mengele. I feel like I could do a list of a bunch of evil people from World War II because there were just so many. Mustache Man was just one head of the Hydra because, of course, there was the Angel of Death, Josef Mengele. Cue the shiver down your spine. He besmirched the name of doctor because the last thing he did was value human life. When we think of the atrocities of World War II, Auschwitz and camps like it are a black stain that forever left the world changed. However, That was Mengele's haven. He was the one who selected and administered the gas in the chambers, but his horrors didn't stop there. He was infamous for his inhumane and horrific genetic and hereditary research he performed on unwilling patients, specifically twins. He would infect one twin with a disease, i.e. typhus, and transfuse the blood between the siblings to see what would happen. He even put like petrol in their bloodstreams. How crazy is that? He also tried to change people's eye color through nefarious means, and the list goes on. The saddest, most painful truth about this man was that he was never tried. The families of those who survived never got to see justice get served. Though, in a poetic sense, it kind of was. Mengele escaped to Brazil and used a false name for many years, but it was later discovered that he had a stroke while swimming and drowned. But when his body was discovered, they decided to use it for medical studies. Great. And that was our top 10 list. Let us know if you want a part 3. You know we listen to you. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment and let us know what you want to see next. I've been your host, Rachel Fisher, and until next time, take care, guys. Hey guys, welcome back. This list is bloodier than the first day of my period. But for a while there, actually, love seemed to have subdued him for, after